Today we're diving into the life of Billy Graham, a man many called America's pastor. It's a really remarkable story of transformation, a journey that took him from a quiet farm to literally the world stage.
Think about this for a second. On the one hand, you have a simple farm boy from North Carolina, and on the other, a man who became a trusted spiritual advisor to U.S. presidents. That huge gap between those two images, well, that's the story we're going to explore.
So, you gotta ask, right? How does that even happen? How does a kid from a dairy farm become a global spiritual leader? That's the mystery we're gonna try to unravel.
All right, so let's rewind. To really understand the man, we have to go right back to the beginning. And our story starts not in some massive cathedral, but on a humble dairy farm in North Carolina. Just a very ordinary childhood. You know, the young Billy Graham was by all accounts just a regular kid. His life was all about milking cows and doing chores. And get this, he was way more passionate about baseball than he was about the Bible. Honestly, religion wasn't even a blip on his radar.
But then, something happened. One night, one single encounter, and everything was about to change. This is that moment.
He's 16 years old, and an unexpected event it flips his entire world upside down. So picture this. He gets dragged, kind of reluctantly, to this revival meeting, probably planning to just hide out in the back. But as the evangelist starts speaking, it's like a lightning bolt. He feels like every single word is aimed right at him, right at his heart. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being called personally. And that was it. That was the night he made that walk and surrendered his life to Jesus Christ. And just listen to how he put it himself. That says it all, doesn't it? This wasn't some minor course correction. For him, the entire map of his life had been completely redrawn in a single evening.
Okay, so he has this huge personal transformation, but it doesn't stay personal for long. This is where it starts to become something bigger, where he starts finding the voice the world would soon come to know.
And you might think this big calling moment happened in some grand church, right? Nope. It was on a walk near a golf course of all places. He said he just felt this crystal clear, unmistakable message from God. Preach the gospel.
In his response, it was just total commitment. That simple prayer, right there, basically set the trajectory for the next 60 years of his life. He was all in. So let's put this on a timeline to see how it all lays out. You have his birth, then that big conversion moment in 34. But I want you to look at that next date, 1949. That's the year everything just exploded. This was the real launchpad. He holds this tent revival meeting in Los Angeles. It was only scheduled to last for 3 weeks, but people just kept coming and coming. It got so big that it ended up running for 8 straight weeks and became a national sensation. After that one event in LA, the game completely changed. He went from being a traveling preacher to a voice that was suddenly being heard all over the world. And this is where the story goes global. We're talking about 6 decades of ministry on a scale that's, it's honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around.
And when we say global, we mean global. This wasn't just an American thing. He made it a point to go everywhere. Africa, Asia, Europe, Australia, pretty much every populated continent. Now try to grasp this. It's believed he preached to more people face-to-face than anyone else who has ever lived. I'm not talking about radio or TV audiences. I mean people physically there, in person. The sheer number of people he stood in front of, it's just staggering. So, what was he saying that connected with so many people from so many different cultures? It was surprisingly simple, and it never ever changed. He wasn't giving his own philosophies. Nearly every sermon started with 3 words. The Bible says. That was his foundation, plain and simple.
All right, so let's bring this story home. After a lifetime of circling the globe, we come to the final chapter for the farm boy from North Carolina. When you look back at the sheer scope of it all, wow, he was counseling presidents, he was filling up the world's biggest stadiums. But at the exact same time, his message was reaching families who felt lost, helping people who felt broken right in their own living room.
But what's so incredible is that even with all that fame, he always saw himself the same way. Not as a global icon, but in his own words, as just a farm boy whom God called. That deep sense of humility, it really stuck with him, right to the very end.
You know, towards the end of his life, someone asked him what he was most looking forward to, and his answer wasn't about his legacy or all the things he'd accomplished. It was simple. He just said, going home to heaven.
So, if you had to boil down his entire life's work, all 60 years of it, into one single idea, it would be this simple, powerful invitation. This was the heart of everything.
And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? How can such a simple message from such a humble man have such a massive, globe-spanning impact that lasts for more than half a century? It's really something to think about.